You ready over there?
Yeah, we're good. I just didn't turn the TVs on, but that's we're good.
All right, I'm gonna bring the meeting to order. I'm Don Berube from 135 River Road.
Kip McDaniel, Select Board Rep.
Harry Mackinnon, Community Development Director.
Jess Duke, 50 Brown Hill Road.
Casey DeStefano, 4 Hopkins Road.
Ben Davis, 9 Wheeler Road.
Michael Lawton, 3 Asa Drive.
Sandy Crystal, 1 Shoreview Drive.
Dawn Farino, land use assistant. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna start with our minor modifications and conceptual consultations. First up is application number 203-08, GSP Merrimack, minor site plan modification to terminate requirements for reporting and stormwater testing related to the gypsum surge pile located at 413 River Road.
Long time no see. Good to see everybody. You know, it'd been so long, I went back in the archives and actually found the color up that we reviewed that night. It's a reprint, but we had the PDF. Good evening, folks. My name's Nick Golan, licensed engineer and principal with TF Moran and here on behalf of Granite Shore Power. In regards to the before mentioned modification, I'm not sure what modification it would actually be at this point. It was modification 7 at that point, when we were actually making it, so I'm sure there's a good record of it somewhere. Let's see what we got going on. Twist this out of your way. Sandy, I think you may have been on the board at the time. So it was a fateful day in June of 2011 where we gathered in these hallowed halls to review this component. So just quick history lesson on what it was. There was a waste derived product that was created from the flue gas desulfurization system that was associated with the Clean Air Project. That waste derived product was a synthetic gypsum, and the intent was for that to be reused and sold as part of the project. So we needed a place to put it. There was a warehouse that was on the subject campus that provided one location, but the intent was that there was going to be a lot of synthetic gypsum created, so we wanted to make sure that there was an appropriate storage area. That's where this came about. It's an approximately 3.5 acre storage yard with another acre and a quarter or so stormwater management facility. What we had determined is there'd be a couple of conditions as to the storage of this material, because we are located in a protection area relative to the Merrimack River and the aquifer, that if we were ever to exceed 50% of that surge pile, we provide those results to you, and then on a yearly basis also provide to the planning board, well, how much material actually was in the yard, did it ever exceed 50%, and if it does exceed 50%, there would be certain testing requirements that we would have to uphold. So at one point I was actually the one physically doing the testing out there, so I can say that we've never been able to obtain a sample because there's never been enough runoff from the area. So that goes back to probably 2012. I think this was into operation. So no formal sampling was ever required, and that no sample could be generated. There just wasn't enough runoff from the gypsum. We never exceeded 50%. So there's a magic yellow line that was drawn out there that said this was our 50% hold point. That was never exceeded. This past year, no synthetic gypsum was stored in this yard. The year prior was just over 500 tons. There will be no more synthetic gypsum stored in this area as the station is no longer operating. So the request is to remove that condition, so Granite Shore Power no longer has to file an annual report with you and let you know that there is no more gypsum being stored in that location. So it's somewhat perfunctory, but an appropriate step just to pop in, say hi, and ask if we could please make that amendment. Questions if you would.
Any chance of it getting turned back on?
Not to my knowledge. My understanding is the plant is shuttered.
The coal units, right? Aren't there
There are gas turbines that are on the site as well. I'm not aware of what their capabilities are presently, but those do still exist, yes.
Can we make a condition, I don't even know if this is possible, that if it does get turned back on, then we would
reenact the clause. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I mean, I guess if, like, so now the coal side has been decommissioned, basically, correct? I mean, to put it back in service, would they have to
come back
come to
here.
the town?
I think
I
so.
would I would
Oh,
expect so.
okay.
I mean, would it start back over, I guess would be
Yeah.
the question.
Should it just be suspended? Suspend.
Yeah, I don't,
So
yeah.
I think you'd be removing the reporting and requirements, but I mean, you could also just remove approval for the gypsum surge pile and just say, you're not allowed to store gypsum here. And then if you ever want to, come back and we'll readdress it from there. I don't think it's likely that we'll be seeing any gypsum there, but you never know. Never say never.
You never know.
The process has been discontinued. If you remember though what that flue gas desulfurization system was, it was raining down limestone on the discharge from the plant. There was no discharge from the plant as there was no coal being burned, so the chemical process that can take place can't.
Yeah,
the
unless
idea
you're
was-
burning coal.
Yeah, the idea is the synthetic gypsum crystallizes, the bottom is removed and then was being stored and then sold. You don't have the ability to make it anymore. Thought process was the cleanest way to do this was to come in and remove that condition. It was our expectation. If you'd like to handle it in a different format, we certainly can, but it was our request to look to amend that this evening.
Yeah, I
Makes
got no
sense.
problem, I just
Yeah.
kinda curious, you know, like I said, if it, as things change.
If things change, and you know, it is a very large piece of property, I hope that we have the opportunity to come back and see what the station will be able to come in the future.
I make a motion to approve a minor site plan modification for application 203-08.
Can you be a little more specific?
Oh, to terminate requirements for reporting and stormwater testing related to the gypsum surge pile.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Can we
Thank you for your
just
time.
clarify who's voting?
Oh,
sorry.
I was late.
I'm sorry. What do we have for regular members here? So
Everyone would
Four,
drive them.
five,
Yeah.
six. You have six
Jonathan.
regulars.
So we need one more.
we need one more, so we're all voting.
No, not
No,
me,
not
right?
you. Well, Levi's
that would-
not here, right?
Put us on an
You're-
even number.
You're
He's an
allowed.
alternate.
5, 6, 7.
You're still open.
Carrie, is there?
So you're voting, Pat.
This is a minor, we're not even, this is so, basic. That's why we need it.
Wanna make sure we check all the boxes.
No, we just did this as a minor, a super minor modification with no bearing on abutters or anything like that, because there's nothing there.
Alright,
Awesome, good.
Thank
All right.
Thank
you.
Thank you for.
That was your quickest trip here.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along, application 209-24, Optimistic Brewing, minor site plan modification to adjust the number and location of structures for phase 1, located at 516 South Street. Come on up.
All right, thanks. All right, so, obviously I had a site plan approved in 2 phases, I think it was like 2 years ago now. We worked through a lot of the hurdles, we've kind of overcome all of them now. So, you'll remember there was a DOT permit that,
You had
Kick
a
the can
really
down the
tough
road.
time with.
Yep, so we're past that, we pulled the shoreland permit, so, less the building permit, we've got everything we need. We did I don't know, Carrie, was it a preliminary meeting with the building inspector? So he has seen, our plans, and the layout's a little bit fluid, so I asked for a little bit of flexibility. I'm having to juggle health department requirements and liquor commission requirements, and they contradict each other. So we're trying to work through that right now. So some locations and exact methods, I'm asking for a little bit of flexibility on as I kind of work through that. But essentially, what I need to do is over the last 2 years, we've opened 2 other locations. So we have exhausted our brewery liquor licenses. So what I need to do now to bring this project to Bow is I need to bring it to the town as a restaurant. So because it's going to be a restaurant, we now have to bring in the health department, and that is a whole nother thing. So basically, my requirements are I need to prepare, heat, and serve food on site to be able to serve beer. So we're gonna do a food truck, and we're gonna satisfy that requirement that way.
Remove the word food truck,
Okay.
'cause it's not gonna be a truck, right?
That's unknown. It could be. So
Okay.
I'm asking for the ability to do a truck,
Either.
a trailer, or a serving container. And my understanding, is your concern about like the hawker headless?
Wheels. Just when we talked before, I thought it was gonna be a container or structure more.
That has changed. So the health department is very anti non-movable. They want it movable. So
No, I thought it was the opposite last time.
that's the liquor commission. So that is what I'm dealing with.
Of course.
Yep, perfect example of what I'm dealing with. So we're navigating that right now. So it could be one of those three things. So I have a list of 6 items that I'd like to change. So essentially, the serving container that we're going to be serving beer out of, I would like to shift that to make room for a food trailer, food truck, or serving box. I'd like to add in that food service. We talked about removing the concrete pad and replacing it with crushed stone. The purpose for that is when we grow into phase 2, these will either move or be removed from the property completely, and we want to be able to make that more of a green space and not have a big concrete pad left there. So we had a discussion with the building inspector about that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, but my takeaway was he was okay in theory, but he wanted to work with us through that process to make sure we had a solid base. So that's kind of our plan there. I would also like to add a sign at the close to the road to let people know what's on the property. I figured you guys would want a number, so I put 32 square feet. That's 8 by 4 foot sign. I'm not saying that's what I'll do, but it won't be bigger than that. Non-illuminated. And then I don't believe there were bathrooms identified in the either original site plan. So we have 2 locations that we're looking at in the documents that I provided. Again, it's more for aesthetics. We want, once it's closer to complete, we want the flexibility just to make sure it looks good. Can't see it from the road, that kind of thing. And then we're gonna shift kind of the tables and kind of the layout, which was provided. So that's essentially what I'm asking for.
Will bathrooms be mobile at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we would do 1 ADA and 1 regular.
Okay.
Just a porta potty.
Yes. Yep.
So those are the 6 things you want changed from the original approved plan.
Phase 1 plan, yes, that's correct.
Can I just give everyone an overview of your anticipated timeline
I was
for
gonna
phase
start.
2 and what phase 2, just remind everyone what phase 2 is.
Yeah, so-
When's phase 1? Is it this spring?
Yeah, so we have a contractor lined up pending this goes well. We should be open for Memorial Day. So we're got a tight time frame, but we're pushing to hit that. Phase 2 is a full build out. I'm going off memory here, but I think we got it approved for 2,400 square feet. So at the time, it was a 2-story. We've kind of gotten rid of that due to some water constraints in town. So we won't be doing any brewing there probably ever, but it'll be a restaurant and tasting room in the long term. And the reason for the phased project, in this economic environment, banks don't love the hospitality industry. So they want to see actual numbers and not projections. So I've got a bank who's very willing to work with us, but they want us to do this first, prove that our projections are close, and then kind of come back to them. So that's where we're at. I believe we were approved for a 2-year project for phase 1. And I'm hoping that we hit that, but ultimately it's gonna come down to whether or not we're bankable.
I will do my best to make you bankable.
I've heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of that.
So the sign, what is the easement that's within, shown within, Carrie? It says highway, so I can't read it.
Yeah,
Roadway on this plan.
easement to the town of Bow.
What is it?
It's a roadway easement to the town of Bow.
Do we want a sign in that easement?
I mean, I'm not sure whether, a business sign you need
You typically-
somewhere so people
You
can
don't
see
typically
it.
put a business sign in the right of way though, do you?
Not in the right.
So that's why I'm not sure what that easement is pertaining to, so make sure we look into that, that's all.
I'm flexible with the location.
And how long will phase one be, like do you have an estimate or just till you're bankable?
Yeah, we're very eager to get a year-round building
Yeah.
on that property, so, unfortunately, I don't.
No, no.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve a minor site plan modification. And correct me if I'm wrong on what I've written down, to one, shift the location of the beer facility. 2, add food service. 3, replace the concrete pad with crushed stone. 4, have a sign of up to 32 square feet, making sure you follow the rules with regards to that easement. Add bathrooms and shift tables around compared to the original plan.
You said add food service, I think it's important to note that that food service would be in a second
Yeah.
trailer food truck structure.
So, the food service would be in a separate structure from the beer service. That's my motion.
I'll second.
All those fair?
Aye.
Opposed?
Awesome, thank you guys so much.
Good luck.
See you Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
10 a.m.
All right, number 3, Kearsarge Energy, conceptual consultation for Bow landfill solar facility located on Falcon Way.
Some paper copies. Okay,
Sure,
but sure.
yeah, that'd be great.
I think I have enough for everyone. We have some.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
But ours isn't gonna be a
Can I
product.
snag one for the record? Thank you, Ben.
And then there should be another little packet.
Yeah, there's
There's 2 packets.
Those 2
the
packets.
copy of the conceptual consultations on the bottom.
Can I grab one? Is that enough? I can grab it later. If there's not enough. You guys can.
If there's not enough, I'm not voting.
Should be just enough, yeah.
Top, one from the bottom.
Yes.
No. I know, you never know.
All right, that's it.
Tough one to follow. We're not gonna have any beer. We can get it though. So we're Kearsarge Energy. There's a long process here of how the projects come together, which we could summarize. Maybe work on this website, look at it. Just who we are. I'm Everett Tattlebaum. I run the development team at Kearsarge, and I've been with the company since just after we got started, so that means 2009. And so we've done a lot of these kind of projects all over New England, starting off with a ton in Massachusetts, but now more and more in New Hampshire, which we can talk about. Alex, you can hear yourself.
Yeah, I'm Alex on the development team and new business as well. I actually responded to the RFP back in 2023 for the solar sites, and I've been with Kearsarge for about 7 years.
And we read Rob along.
Rob Bukowski, Weston Sampson. I'm a civil engineer and consultant for Kearsarge.
And we've worked with Rob and his team on probably 15 similar projects. I think they're the foremost engineers working on landfills for this kind of project, where it's a sensitive site in terms of the cap and non-penetrating infrastructure and all those things. They're the experts in the industry. So we have a little history, which maybe we could be efficient on to introduce the project. I don't know if everybody on the board is familiar with the course of events and the properties involved for the solar project. We're not here for an actual, the site plan yet. As the consultation summarizes, the question we want to have have an opportunity to speak with the board about are overhead poles and how Unitil wants to connect 3 different sites to the grid over time. And so I think that's where we want to get feedback and make sure we're on the same page, looking at some of the regulations in terms of overhead versus underground. And then we'll be back, I think, pretty soon with a formal application as it relates to the, planning approval and CBA for the project. But just to set up why we're here. Moving kind of quickly about Kearsarge, as I said, we've been around for 15 years. We own and operate solar projects like these, which is probably one of the more important aspects without going through all the line items here. A lot of companies in solar, and you see the projects around the state, more and more now in New Hampshire and a ton of Massachusetts. There are developers that work on the front end, like real estate developers, permit a site, they do this process, and then they sell it to a third-party owner who might be in New York or California or somewhere else that exists to own assets. At Kearsarge, we do both, and so our office, we own over 100 different projects, not too dissimilar from this one. And that means that we succeed when the project succeeds over the long term in terms of how our financial return, we get that over 20-year contracts. And so we want to be a part of a good neighbor in our communities. It matters for our reputation, working with a lot of public sector counterparties, just like the town here. That's where been a lot of our success has been working with public entities. We built the project in Manchester, which you can see from the road. That was going back a number of years. It was one of the early net metered solar projects in New Hampshire, and I think part of it was our reputation in Massachusetts, working with communities on public projects where it's a piece of property that's sensitive. It's there's environmental conditions, and also the engineering side, and working on it now. Manchester now has been several years of successful operations, and so references like that are, I think, how we end up in places like this, and it's been a focus of our business to do solar projects like that and working with the public sector. There's some sample pictures on slide 4, intentionally being efficient. We work on roofs, landfills like this one, and also greenfield sites, which is relevant when we talk about the actual RFP, which jump into 5, and we can pause for questions. I don't know, Alex, you want to go through sort of just where we are in the big picture? So get people up to speed, and then we can talk about the specific overhead poles.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Everett mentioned, we've got the 3 projects here. The landfill at Falcon Way, just near the up the street from the high school, the Memorial School rooftop, and then we have the Bow gravel pit at Allen Road, which is that larger parcel, or 2 parcels. These 3 sites were all included in the RFP back in 2023. So looking at them one by one, the landfills are roughly expected to be about 7 acres of development on the closed and capped landfill. The Memorial School is a little smaller, about 690 kilowatts, and that the panels there will just be on the rooftop. Bow gravel pit, we'd be using the area allowed in the RFP, which is approximately 10 acres as well. And that's, the totals there just based on the system sizes and the number of panels. So 2.4 megawatts for the landfill, 690 kilowatts, about half a megawatt, and then 3.7 megawatts for the gravel pit. As outlined in our proposal for the RFP, we expect the project to produce about 8.2 million kilowatt hours per year, and millions of benefits to the town over the 20-year term. That'll become in both lease revenue, tax revenue, electricity bill savings as well. The town has about 700,000 kilowatt hours usage annually, and the school district has about 2 million kilowatt hours usage annually. So these projects will be able to fully offset the usage in that they'll be providing group net metering credits, which we don't have to get too into here, but basically they'll be offset at virtual credits that will be applying a fixed discount to accounts. So in addition to that lease revenue and tax revenue, that's the third piece.
Thanks, Alex. And so, so the setup is there's a major benefit to the community as this public-private partnership. The major components, I don't know if people on the board are familiar with solar sites. I don't know if maybe Rob, you want to jump through just the infrastructure that goes on the landfill and some of the equipment that'll be out there.
Yeah, the main difference, I'm sure you've seen solar arrays around, but typically a ground-mounted system would be either post-driven or ground screws for foundations. But obviously, given the fact that it's a capped landfill, we can't penetrate through that. So it's usually either precast concrete block foundations that are set on the surface, or like a gabion basket, if you know what that is, it's like a wire mesh basket full of rocks, which is what Kearsarge is using now at the Concord landfill. So essentially, it's low ground pressure equipment that goes out, so it's tracked vehicles. 10 PSI is the maximum pressure that we're allowed to put on the cap. So they go out, put leveling stone down, place the foundation, and then the racking goes up from there, and then the modules go on it. So, you know, the other permits that we need in addition to going through site plan review is alteration of terrain permit through DES, and then we need a tier 1B, which is a solid waste permit through DES. So we're working through those in parallel. We've already got our alteration of terrain permit in. We've received some comments and gonna respond to those shortly. But yeah, the main difference here really is the goal is to protect the cap and make sure we maintain that integrity. So both during construction and post-construction. And we're required to have somebody oversee construction. So while the contractor's out there, there'll be an engineer or scientist on site watching them and making sure that everything they do is in compliance with the design and the permit approvals.
Thanks.
I would add too, from another long pole in the tent is the interconnection review, and all three of these projects already have an ISA or an interconnection services agreement with the utility Unitil. So we've made some significant progress there.
Yeah, it's a good point. And the RFP award is going back now to 23, and the reason why we weren't here yet is the utility study. On any one of these projects, it can be 12 to sometimes 36 months. Eversource is significantly worse than Unitil, so that was in our favor here. But that process where we start immediately with an application to the utility to just get approval and any potential cost to upgrade infrastructure on existing circuits, that's the longest lead time and sort of most significant challenge for any one of these projects. And then, as Rob indicated, we go to the state because they're gonna be the next long lead in terms of permitting. While that's moving through is when we want to begin this process, so that we expect, from a timeline perspective, which I think is at the end of the deck, by late spring, I think we hope to have the permits out from the state, and in the next couple of months, come back before the board here for the actual permits for this project. And so jumping into slide 7, and I think it actually applies to all three, the Memorial School and the gravel pit, which will come later, is this question about how we reconcile the language and the regulations in town on overhead and underground with what Unitil has come back to us with. Which is for this kind of distributed generation interconnection, they can only connect us overhead. They'll jump off in the existing line. I'll miss the name of that street, Alex.
Yeah. Yeah. So
On White Rock Hill Road.
right.
And so they're not adding any infrastructure out there, but they'll come off of White Rock Hill with overhead equipment, and it'll pair with 3 or 4 of their poles and 3 or 4 of our poles. And we work with them for probably 8 weeks or 10 weeks on looking at the language in town and can we get this infrastructure on pad mount from the Unitil, and they came back with, we've never done that. And so that was a challenge on cost, but also timeline to get Unitil to put everything underground for this kind of metering and this kind of recloser. It's standard equipment for DG, it's all over New England, but they weren't ready to put it on pads. And so that led to, how do we do that at Falcon Way? I think we first showed a design to Dwayne and Carrie that had our infrastructure much closer to Falcon Way, and I think there was a concern about aesthetics coming into the new high school, but also would it impact any parking spaces? And we went back on our side, working with our engineering team, and then with Unitil, what if we move it all to the north end of the lot, which is shown on this drawing? It still will require Unitil to jump off the road. We won't do a curb cut there is the expectation. They'll just have to clear a couple of those trees, connect the pole, and then there will be a series of poles at the top of the lot, and then we'll go underground from there back to the pad. But in this way, we won't impact anything on the sort of approach on Falcon Way is the goal. And so I think our objective here, and I think part of the question is how the waiver will work or what process we would need to follow to ensure that we're not running afoul of the regulation is what we want to talk about.
So what, is there equipment on the poles, or is
Yeah.
it just line? That's the idea, is that equipment.
And by electric code, it's separate, the pole, it has to be separate poles for the metering assembly and the recloser, which is a voltage protection piece of equipment. And some of those poles can be 25 feet apart, so it ends up being a handful of poles. It's not beautiful to look at, but it's electric code, and it's one of those things that we can't control. And so we thought there's more cost for which goes with Kearsarge here, to move underground from the pad and get to the corner and effectively pay Unitil to come, they'll have to cut some of those trees, and all those costs come back to us, but it seems like this is probably the best solution.
So this is routes around the backside of that dirt parking lot?
Correct.
Instead of across the like, against Falcon Way.
Yeah, the first concept was coming right, in that median sort of, where the cursor is, still coming from White Rock Hill, but then cutting across, and then it would be an overhead connection to some poles right where the cursor is, right where you enter that unpaved lot or that dirt lot.
If Unitil's not gonna connect to it, we want all this infrastructure, my guidance would be just make it look the least ugly.
Yeah.
At all three sites, I know this is the one that raised.
Most public.
It's the most public and, a school board reached out to me about the initial design. So it sounds like you've mitigated that.
Yeah.
As long as this isn't a formal hearing, but like, as long as you do the same ethos for the other two, I certainly wouldn't have a problem.
As the school board has looked at this too, and they didn't have any comments.
It's great.
They certainly did have comments after the first review, so this design was much more palatable.
I do have a question about the screening trees. I mean, obviously you'll come back later, but do you have kind of a standard what you put in or?
It's pretty site specific in terms of topography and local sort of ordinances on what the screening ends up being. On this site, I think we don't intend to pull any existing vegetation that's out there. And the solar goes on the cap, so at the moment, we haven't contemplated any major screening, given that potentially the visual impact is the pad equipment, which, we can hide that pad, I think, relatively easily. But in terms of seeing the solar, I don't know, if you do look
Yeah,
up
well,
from
I
the
guess
lot?
it's labeled screening trees, so
Circles
otherwise I
around, right.
wouldn't have brought it up.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Just 'cause-
saying around
The bright green all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, which, on the backside, is that visible from?
Yeah,
I think that's feasible just because it is a landfill. So we can't, DES wouldn't allow us to plant trees
Oh, right,
on the cap.
yes, yeah, you're right, okay,
I
yeah.
think some of those maybe a labeling, it may not be meant to be new trees, but in terms of that's existing vegetation.
Yeah,
there.
that,
Right,
the idea was,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, all right, that's fine. It says existing trees next to it, but, okay, yeah, no, I understand.
So I guess the site plan regulations say that electric has to be underground. Oftentimes that means there's a pole or sometimes two poles and then it goes underground. Would you say it's that, or do you want to see a waiver?
That's when your underground electric is that electric coming in. I mean, this is a different thing because they're generating electricity and getting out, and I mean, you need the poles for the equipment so I think it is kind of a different thing that can.
I think to
I think a
cover the
waiver,
bases, I
yeah.
would say apply for a waiver, and you guys obviously can't commit to anything, but is anyone concerned about granting a waiver for that?
No.
So I think that was the feedback you were looking for.
Yeah, and so thank you. This came up and why we came formally was we're making payments to Unitil for their equipment, and so we wanted to make sure before that check goes out the door effectively, that we were gonna be able to, if we had to work with them on some other solution, but we thought this would be the right path forward. And then I think for Memorial is the question where there's a couple of poles there at the school, which we threw in the appendix, that drawing.
Yeah, the Bow Memorial School, we've shared with Dwayne. I believe he shared with the school board as well, so they should be aware. I know Dwayne has shared this, so, just in terms of poles here, it would actually be even less than the landfill. 4 poles, there's an existing, along Bow Center Road, there's an existing feeder, 3-phase feeder. We would just be coming up the road here, up the hill here with 1, 2, 3, 4 poles. 2 of them would be Unitil, 2 of them would be ours, so even less than the other site. And then going underground from there to an equipment pad behind to minimize any user impact.
And I think
Receive feedback from the school district on this?
I believe Dwayne, we've shared it with him and there hasn't been much feedback. I think it was much better received.
Was there another proposal previously around one of the schools with poles that became a problem?
Oh, you might be referring to the elementary school?
I don't know, I just remember him telling me that there was something with poles and they decided not to go forward with it.
Yeah, the elementary school was included in the original RFP.
Okay.
And I think what the conversation was there, they were redoing the lot and we were looking at a pole entrance route there, but that project is it's, the
I
roof
saw,
is.
I just remembered him saying there was a problem with some poles at one of them, so it's not this one.
Yeah, that's not this one.
And I think the gray area here was that because it's the rooftop, it's just,
Yeah.
we would go straight to building and electrical. And so whereas the landfill will come back for a formal process, and at that point, there could be approval or waiver for the language, but at Memorial School, I don't know if we need a specific planning process other than just going for building electrical.
Yeah, I think they'll bypass the planning board for that one because it's really a building permit.
Okay, fair enough.
So is the area that says access area extend to Center Road entrance, is that for construction purposes?
Yeah, that would be for the lease area, utility access area.
Okay.
And that, just to be clear though, that whole area is not poles, there's just the entrance and then
Just
it takes a quick left
Like the
turn.
whole wraparound area that's hatched is not all holes, right?
No, it'd be
No.
from like
lot of
about
holes.
1, 2, 3, 4, and then when you see the tree line,
Yep.
underground from there.
Okay.
Got it.
And on the gravel pit, I think there's a slide, we put it somewhere, but that's just further out because of Unitil. That's a 2027 sort of construction sequence and permitting, and so we'll come back there. And at the gravel pit, the pole nuance is within the property, away from the public way, to move power closer to the point of interconnection, we would have poles to move power basically closer to the point of interconnection with the utility. And so I think that project will be back to the planning board, I think probably later this year, early 27, at which time, obviously, we can talk about the waiver there, but I think that wouldn't be visible anywhere outside the property. It's just using the right part of the parcel.
Yeah, for clarity, the way this parcel is shaped, there's a right of way basically, or there's a,
Conservation easement around it.
well, there is we'd be outside of that area, that's to the
Right,
south
right, oh,
and
no,
southeast.
yeah, I know, yeah.
But to the northeast or northwest, there's some frontage there, so we'd just be coming in along the frontage that connects to Allen Road. That would all be on town
Right,
property.
that's the,
While you
Goes
guys
by
are
the
here,
brush
do
dump.
you want to just do a brief initial discussion on any potential wetland or buffer impacts at the landfill site?
Yeah, so Rob, I think the way we designed it, if I remember correctly, we may be within some setbacks, but we were gonna be able to apply for a variance given around the cap, I think was the original plan.
Yeah, there should be no impacts. There are some wetlands to the north, but I believe we're far enough away from those so that there's no
It looks
buffer
like-
impacts.
There might be, I think we had said there might be some buffer impacts, but they were on already disturbed areas, is that what
Right.
we had talked about?
Right.
Yeah, everything here is gonna be on the cap, so there'd be no panels proposed beyond the limit of the landfill cap. So, and that landfill cap area would be considered previously disturbed.
The, where the underground wires are going, there would be trenching through the buffer, right?
Yeah, on the east side.
With our interconnection pad, yeah.
Within, within or very close to the parking lot, so it's basically already disturbed, but
And I think there's already an electric path of underground lights there connecting, or they've got, they must have underground conduit, but they're closer to the wetlands, I think, than we are, so looks like something was approved there.
so would we still wanna see a conditional use permit for already disturbed areas is always a tricky question. So we might need to discuss that.
yeah, I mean, I would think technically you would, but
Might be an easy
you
one.
could probably, they could also ask maybe for a waiver from some of the requirements because it's kind of a unique situation.
Yeah, we might not wanna see like a full wetlands functions and values
Right, yeah,
for
Yeah.
right.
in a landfill. So we'll work on the details of that, but I think it might be a paperwork exercise, but we
Right,
can try
right.
to make it as painless as possible if there are no real new impacts.
Great.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Neither did I.
All right. Moving on to public hearing. Application number 501-26, Ryan Stacy LLC, proposed 4-lot residential subdivision located at 108 River Road.
Hello.
record, my name is Maria Dolder. I'm an attorney. I represent the applicant. This should be a pretty straightforward subdivision. So this property is located in your R1 zoning district. It currently houses one single-family residence. The lot itself is 8.39 acres in size, and it has frontage along both Vaughn Road and River Road. So the applicant is asking to subdivide this into 4 residential lots. It will be creating 3 additional lots on the property. Back in December of 2025, we did go before the zoning board and we got a variance to your table of dimensional requirements. Because basically in the zoning ordinance, you have a section of your ordinance that basically says that you have to take out all your steep slopes that are 25% out of your acreage. And so we did get the variance so that we were able to create 4 lots under that ordinance. So we're all set in terms of acreage. All of these lots exceed your required frontage. We already have state subdivision approval. There are no wetlands on this property. You have 2 lots on River Road. They're gonna be served with private well and septic system. And then the 2 lots that are on Vaughn Road will have municipal water and a septic system. Jacques Belanger has said he's gonna be working with the Department of Public Works on the water line, so he's well aware of that, and he's going to be working on that. We do have the letter from Unitil, so we're all set with electricity out to the site. He indicated, so there was a staff report, and I know Jacques worked on it with Carrie, and he has addressed all the comments in that staff report, and he's made all of those changes to the plan. So I don't know if you wanna walk through the staff report, walk through the notes on the plan, or Carrie, if you had any points that you wanted to make. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Like I said, I'm happy to answer questions. I think one of the things that we needed the board to determine was,
The most difficult part is
the
it
minor
major or
versus
minor?
major, right. So apparently Jacques submitted the minor subdivision checklist, but then they did submit payment for a major subdivision. And I wasn't involved in it, but my guess is there's some question as to what this falls under.
So,
Give us some guidance on that.
yeah. For some reason I didn't have the staff report, so let's sign in. In your subdivision regulations, under the definition of major and minor. We've never had one that fell right on the cusp before. They're always been very clearly major or minor. So the definition of minor is any subdivision which creates 3 or fewer lots with no potential for future subdivision. So if you stop there, it sounds very clear. Creates 3 or fewer lots. This subdivision creates
4 lots.
3, well, it creates 3
It
lots.
creates 4 lots from one.
It
I know, you're
creates
saying
3
3
new lots.
additional.
It's the create word that is,
It's, yeah.
Well, you have 1 lot, you're gonna create 3
Well,
more.
you're always starting with 1 lot, at least 1 lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta love these fuzzy.
right? Isn't this fun?
lines.
Isn't this fun? Let me take it, yeah.
I think you go with what the
And
final.
then further on, if
creates
you
3
read more, it talks about resulting in an aggregate number of greater than 3 lots. So I feel like
Oh.
resulting in an aggregate number of 3 lots
Yes.
and creating 3 lots mean 2 different things.
Yeah.
We
I
create
think
3 new
you
lots,
end
but
up
you-
with, the number that you end up with is what determines. I understand that difference in how it's written, but I would say
So-
it's how many lots do you end up with? That's what you're creating.
But I think the part of the confusion, and Carrie, excuse me, you can jump in anytime here, but so under minor subdivision, the definition says that it would result in an aggregate number of greater than 3 lots, which does not require the construction of any new street or extension of municipal facilities, which I think we have water on parts of them. So I guess, I think that's where the confusion
So
comes
what's the
in.
difference
Yeah, that's what I was
of,
gonna ask.
what's the difference if we call this
Yeah.
a major subdivision compared
It's
to a
an
minor?
intellectual exercise, what's the outcome?
Yeah, the outcome is, I think, $180 of application fees. but,
And did you say you've already
Yeah,
paid the
so
grader?
they paid the greater amount. I wasn't clear, and I don't think Jacques was clear at the time when we spoke, if there were any other requirements that he had to satisfy if a major, because he submitted the checklist
So
to the
the
minor. So I guess that was the
additional,
question.
the additional requirements that get triggered are an erosion plan, a drainage and grading plan, a parks and recreation dedication, phasing plan, which doesn't seem to apply.
Yeah, so I
because-
think for all of those, we would ask for, like, currently, we have no waivers with this subdivision. If that's the case, we would ask to waive all of that.
Ask for a waiver for erosion plan, for the grading plan,
A parks and recreation dedication.
Well, when will these lots be developed? Cause you have steep slopes there, so
I'm
an
not
erosion
inclined- yeah, I'm
plan
not inclined to waive an erosion.
I mean, you should have an erosion plan no matter what, frankly. And
I know he-
you have
yeah.
Steep slopes, so that's even more significant depending upon
I
whether you
mean,
disturb.
and doing a grading plan, just, which I'm like this close to being in a butter, so I
Yep.
see this lot continuously, which I have no problem with it being, I mean, that's what it's known for, it's, and you know, I also know this, it's sand, it's plenty of sand, and I would imagine the Vaughn Road sites, especially if he's gonna use town water, he's gonna put houses at the Vaughn Road level. Because if he tries to keep it on top of the hill, he's gonna have a lot tougher time getting water.
Yeah, and just, not to interrupt you, but I mean, the purpose of getting the variance was so that they didn't have to go and take all the slopes down, because that was the other option.
Take all the what out?
Slopes.
Oh,
I mean,
slope,
that was the option,
oh, yeah,
right? The
no,
option
yeah.
was to go on there and flatten that whole site,
Which would be very easy for this applicant.
it would be. Just, it didn't make a lot of sense,
Yeah.
and honestly,
They would not even have to truck the equipment there.
correct. But, I mean, one of the abutters, when we were at zoning, their issue was if we were impacting the slopes, what the erosion control would then look like, and we'd be sloping into there. So this was a benefit for everybody, that we did not have to impact those slopes in order to get our acreage. So the intent is certainly not to take them all down.
I still would prefer to see an erosion
Erosion
control plan and a
control
draining and grading plan for something of this size, to be honest. Pretty significant in size.
I think of
Lots.
all the things that are required, that would be the one that I would be most concerned about.
So with the drainage and grading plan, that also includes, you know, hydrological calculations based on 10, 25, and 50-year storm events.
So, I mean, one of the things I can just say about the property, I would imagine that this property isn't a whole lot different than my property. And it is, in this whole quarter along the river, it's sand. When I built my garage and my footings were dug before any concrete went in, was when the Mother's Day floods came. I not so much has any puddle in there because
The soils
it's
are
just,
good.
it just goes.
Right, but sand also can erode. If you don't have it covered, it could also erode.
So would we not accept it as complete if we wanted the studies done?
That's an option. So I'll just talk out loud so we can all discuss it. So, yeah, so one option. So we're discussing like options of how to move forward. So
Sure.
one is to say it's not complete and not accept it right now and say those items are missing. You could accept it as complete, start reviewing it and not approve it yet, or you could, I don't think you'd wanna conditionally approve it without those, cause obviously you'd wanna review the information provided in those, otherwise there's no point in doing them.
Can you accept it
Do a sidewalk,
complete
you
and then say with the, like, come back next meeting with this? Or I don't know how long they take, but. It would take time. Yeah.
does the applicant
Yeah, I was
have
gonna
any,
say, is there a preference?
preference of how to move forward?
Well, I mean, I think it would be preferable if we could get it accepted as complete, and then we can move forward from there. I know that Jacques has the topography plan all pulled together, cause he did submit that, so I'm not sure how much further how much work he'll have to do from there.
So one idea is you could right now request waivers from those items. The board can say yay or nay to each of those waivers, accept the application as complete with the waivers. And then if you decide not to grant the waivers, then you could come back and address them. I think that would be a procedurally appropriate way to do it.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so do you wanna,
I will request the waivers that are required as a major subdivision that we have not submitted. And I think Kara's already listed them, but
We'll accept the application as complete with the waivers for erosion plan and grading plan
and the parks and
and the parks and
recreation
dedication.
dedication.
So,
Then we'll deny the waivers.
If you want.
If it goes that way, that's,
don't deny the Parks and Rec one. I don't think I have any property to give to you.
Cash option.
I'll second.
Oh.
All those in favor? Opposed?
well, I guess, so are we,
we'll then deny the waivers after.
oh, okay, so this is now.
We're just accepting it as-
So then we'll do a we'll do a public
Package with the
hearing,
waivers.
we'll
Okay, subject to
consider
the
regional
waivers.
impact and then we'll do
Right,
waivers.
okay, that's fine.
But
Yes,
now we
I
can,
approve.
now we can talk about it more.
And it's a public hearing.
It is a public hearing.
Do you have any questions otherwise? I mean, other than that issue, I think everything else on the property is pretty straightforward in terms of the subdivision, so. Did you have anything else, Carrie? I did go through the staff report and I know that Jacques did hit all of the points and added them to the plans.
Yeah, I didn't have any other comments. One thing I would say, so there was no mention of wetlands on the plan, so I'd asked them to add a note. And I believe the note just says there are no wetlands on the plan, on the lot.
This track, yeah.
So I don't know if we want that, anything stronger than that, like we had a wetland scientist review it and there's no wetlands on the plan.
Yeah, Jacques indicated that if you do want something to that effect, if we could just make that a condition, because there's too much snow out there right now.
Right.
But we could have somebody verify that, as a condition of approval after the fact.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna open this to the public. Anybody has any comments or questions? Not seeing any, I'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion that does not have a regional impact.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So they've asked for 2 waivers.
Three.
3 waivers, right?
So the Parks and Rec piece,
Yeah, do you want me to go through a little bit of what the requirements for each of those 3 items
Sure.
are, so we can all understand them a little better? Because some of them have, so we'll start with erosion plan, because that's A. All major applications shall include a soils erosion and sediment control plan conforming to the recommendations of the stormwater manual.
Do we need to change?
Yep. It shall address slopes, embankments, ditches, drainage ways, and the effect of the subdivision on water bodies in all disturbed areas, stamped by a professional engineer. That's what an erosion plan is.
Sounds good.
Waiver one.
Do you wanna consider that, or do you want me to go through the others?
Wanna do one at a time, just so it's
Yeah,
not
it's
confused?
Kristen, do you wanna give any guidance? I feel like we're looking to you. I am at least.
What exactly, to whether or not we wanna accept the waiver,
Is that an important for this project?
for me, if it's sandy soil, you would want to, have an erosion plan, cause that's when it's gonna erode most likely,
Particularly if you steep slopes.
especially with steep slopes, so. What would be the motion I would have to say?
You would deny the waiver request for an erosion plan.
So I present the motion.
You would
to-
deny, you
Oh,
deny.
I would deny, I make a
You
motion to
move the-
deny
Yep.
the waiver for the erosion control plan.
I'll second.
okay. So to be
Meaning they
clear,
would need an erosion plan.
if you vote for this motion,
Yes.
you are voting to
Require,
deny, to require the erosion plan. So all those in favor of
the way,
Any erosion
denying the way.
Yes.
denying the waiver
Aye.
and opposed? I'm gonna oppose because I don't see it, but, there you go.
Okay, next is a drainage and grading plan. It shall indicate existing grades for the entire tract, proposed grading for all areas of construction activity. It'll show existing and proposed drainage facilities, including catch basins, stormwater culverts, head walls, detention basins, swales, riprap, groundwater recharge, stormwater. It'll show contributed drainage subcatchment areas, existing and proposed stormwater flow calculations. It'll be based on hydrological calculations, analyzing 10, 25, and 50-year storm events, prepared and stamped by a professional engineer. And then they'll provide appropriate detention or groundwater recharge facilities to assure that existing flow quantities or velocities will not be exceeded.
You see, I think this is more appropriate where you are creating a road,
Yes.
so I would,
Because are these gonna stay residential lots?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
You're still gonna have driveways coming down into Vaughn Road, you're still adding impervious area with houses on it, you know? The second you add all that impervious area and it flows into Vaughn Road, is it gonna cause an erosion issue? Cause you know, it's all sand right there, you just stated it, you know?
Right,
So like,
right.
it's that type of stuff you need to consider, just big picture, you know? I understand that it's small lots and they're not just coming through and paving over all of it, but it's a substantial amount of land.
Yeah, it is, I mean, it's a substantial part, but
And I don't know if we wanna blur the lines of, I don't know. Half of Bow is sand, I mean, in that area, so I mean, I don't know, I don't really like just saying, oh, that area isn't required to meet the requirements of
Right.
major sub, you know what I mean, I feel like that, we write that off a lot, so. They can show that in a report, you know, document it. But I'm not gonna make any motions, I don't want. Don't look at me. I will vote, but I will not make any motions.
Anyone else have thoughts?
I'm, then if, I guess the drainage comes back, what would be a red flag then to deny this subdivision?
well, you wouldn't, but you would just wanna say, okay, have you accommodated the
Okay.
expected
any-
drainage?
So it's more like
You don't have
then,
any erosive velocities of water running off to stuff. You don't have Vaughn Road getting, you know, additional runoff on it that could cause icing of the roadway and cold
Sand.
temperatures or sand in the road, you know, stuff like that.
Things I'm wondering is that they've showed proposed driveways, basically just connecting to the roads, but we don't have a full layout where, what size houses, where the foundations are going, where the driveways are going,
We
so
don't
I don't
have,
know
like, full
what,
grading.
but what would they base the calculations on?
Yeah. Good question.
yeah, I mean, they're trying to create building lots, but don't have a plan to,
Which is typical for
Yeah,
a subdivision, I mean, you
So,
don't
like-
ask for house plans when you
So
subdivide,
is
but.
this, so is the, for a major subdivision, is it require you to do all of this before you do the site plan part of it?
Before.
Like, cause so it's a subdivision plan.
Well, I think, once again, I think a lot of this is based upon a subdivision where you need to do a road.
road.
And you need like an alteration of terrain permit or close to that, and so, you have to develop this information because of a lot of the drainage with the road, because actually alteration of terrain doesn't look at, you know, house lots.
it's not very often we get a subdivision that's, doesn't have a road.
This is a
I mean, we
very
did have one
perfect medium
not
subdivision.
too long ago that was
Yes, that's a
Right.
perfect.
way at the other side.
I'll concede on the drainage plan. But if there's erosion problems out there, I don't wanna hear any balking about it, right?
I'll make a motion to approve the waiver for the grading plan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Parks and Rec, so the board may require the applicant to dedicate land to the town for playgrounds, trails, open space recreation, it should be 10% of the gross area. There's a lot of details, or you can have a donation of the cash equivalent of the
So,
value.
one of the things I will say about, which is this Audley Construction, that the same owners that own this. They've been a very good steward to the town forever. They, you know, when they do work for the town, they do it very reasonably. I'm pretty sure they've given quite a bit of work. You know, they have done a lot for the town over a lot of years. You know, and volunteered to, and it is a, you know, there's a line in there, but that, you know, well, you know, they get special treatment because they do.
Yeah, you can't, I mean, from at least one other subdivision I learned, you have to approve it based upon what you're seeing and not who's presenting and stuff, because we've been burned in the past because someone came in with a good idea and, you know, was well respected, and then the subdivision got, sold and then was a major headache.
And again, I mean, this is a pretty simple subdivision that, you know, is you know, across the street from his existing property, and
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's barely a major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's, I think
Again, it's
that's also,
important to remember,
yeah.
it's right on the cusp.
So I'll make a motion to accept the waiver for the Parks and Rec portion of the major subdivision.
I'll second.
all those in favor? Opposed?
And then definitely the no phasing plan.
There's no phases, right? It's just
Not that I am aware of.
4 lots. Don't need phasing. I guess aren't there other things
The
as well?
90 waiver, they have to come back.
Yep. others on Park
So
Streets.
10 or more lots, 100.
Yeah, so the
So
other.
read the erosion control one again. So I just wanna hear it again one more time. What they were
So
requiring them to
they'll
do.
require soils erosion and sediment control plan conforming to the stormwater manual. It'll address slopes, embankments, ditches, drainage ways, and the effect of the subdivision on water bodies in all disturbed areas, stamped by an engineer.
I like that idea. Cause then you'll have to look at the effects
Good.
coming down Swan Road. I know, I just wanna make sure, I wanna make sure that
You feel good.
the end part, yeah.
And I know we have a change, do we have a change in the zoning ordinance that references the new stormwater manual rather than the 2008 one? So,
But I'm sure you'll figure it out.
it's the
Use
one
the-
that
use the current
DES
one.
is using for guidance for applicants.
Anything else you want to look at more closely or consider? Do you wanna see it covered in snow? Anything else?
I mean, a sidewalk right now, you need some snowshoes and,
And
I'm not
you
gonna
wouldn't
see
see a whole lot, yeah. It'd be nice to see it, but we can probably wait and see where things are a month from now.
you know, it's definitely all dry.
Yeah. No wetlands. Do you know if the plan is still to demolish the existing house and rebuild it, or?
I don't know the answer to
That
that.
note was on the original.
Yeah,
plan,
I know they
don't see
pulled
on
it
this
off, I
one.
know they pulled it off, I asked Jacques that today when I spoke to him, he said he was not sure what their plans were, so that's why I took it off this plan at this point.
I was just curious, cause I noticed that change. It's interesting to note, I don't know if you guys all noticed that
Thank you.
2 of the lots would have wells, and then the 2 on Vaughn, with driveways on Vaughn Road would connect to town water.
And like I said, with that, they would definitely wanna stay on the Vaughn Road elevation. I know the first house on here, the Whalers, you know, he has had times where the water stopped in his upstairs shower. I think there was some other issues that has been corrected, but you know, this is definitely the high point of the water system.
And then as far as the wetlands, would you you don't have to vote on it right now, but just to give them some feedback to take back, would you be considering making that a condition to have a wetland scientist make that statement?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So we can give that back to you for feedback, but
Right, thank you.
they'll vote on that later.
Okay.
So if there's nothing else you wanna look at tonight, we can continue it.
I'll make a motion to continue application 501-26, Ryan Stacy LLC,
To the March 19th meeting.
if they're prepared at that point, yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll continue to that and then we can vote
Okay,
again,
yeah,
and that way
I'll-
it keeps the continuity going.
Make sure John gets in touch with you if he needs a continuance, but thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Is there a second to get started?
We voted.
Oh, yeah, was there no vote?
Motion to continue.
Don?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. See you next month.
Yes, we'll see you next month.
Okay. All right. Moving right along, application 401-26, the S3AK Trust Wetland Protection Conditional Use Permit for approximately 2,866 square feet of wetland impact and 11,797 square feet of wetland buffer impact for the construction of a residential driveway located off South Bow Road. Welcome back.
Good to see you. So, for the record, Patricia Pansiaco, I'm here with Eli and Rick Howe, of the S3AK Trust. And I guess my question for you, Mr. Chairman, is how would you like us to begin? Because last time we did this, we went through all the criteria, but there was also a plan. And I thought I offered to have John show you that plan and kind of walk you through the parts and pieces that are shown on that plan. And then maybe it would be less tedious to go through all those items, and we'll certainly do that. Whatever you would like us to do.
I mean, we need you to explain out what we're doing for.
Yes. Could we show you the plan first? It's actually very specific. I think Carrie has it, and John prepared it, so he can tell you what's going on with the plan. And then it becomes more meaningful when we talk about the criteria to be satisfied.
Let's see the plan.
Can you see it?
I can zoom in on specific areas, and I think your
Yeah, so
additional sheets.
so the
can-
sheet that we have up there right now is basically just showing like the wetland areas, like kind of what the buffer and and I think Tom did some of this, like kind of what the classifications of the different areas are. It kind of color coded. Tom, if we wanna explain just some of that on this plan.
Did
before
you
we
get
go to-
everybody's name on the recording?
Oh, John Roki
There
Consulting.
you go.
And I'm Tom Sokolowski, the certified wetland scientist for the project.
You wanna just explain what we're looking at right here, Tom, that'd be, then we can go into the grading and everything else that comes with the next part of it.
Very good.
That's what.
The plan that we're looking at shows site wetlands in the blue and white hatching, shows the town's wetland buffer in pink, and shows uplands as clear with, in some cases, some topo lines over it in gray. And essentially, the plan also shows the layout of the proposed driveway, which essentially follows the same path as the previous proposed development of the site showed in 2006, give or take, except that the driveway is extended a little further to the larger upland in the middle of the site where that pink house is depicted. The larger wetlands in the center of the site are forested, mature red maple forest with some mixed evergreens here and there, both hemlock and white pine. And the wetland up in the southwest corner of the site is a pond slash marsh slash scrub shrub swamp, all very intertwined, a lot of interconnectivity of different habitat types there. And what I was brought on board to do after the delineation of the wetlands was help to prepare the wetland permit application, and for that, a functions and values analysis. And the functions and values analysis essentially divided the wetlands into 3 categories. That area of marsh, open water, and scrub shrub wetland was found to be the highest value wetland on the property, specifically in terms of wildlife habitat potential. All of those different vegetative cover types in close juxtaposition to each other lend to the ability of many different types of wildlife to utilize the habitat. Plus, it's quite wet. It's beaver influenced, has some standing water most of the time, has a stream running through it, a perennial stream that comes out of Graylor Farm Pond and runs southward under South Bow Road through a culvert. With all of the hydrologic features that are present there, as well as different vegetative types, it would be the one place on the property that you would want to minimize or avoid impacts to, given that essentially the state wetland permit application process, as well as your town CUP, requires that we avoid impacts as much as we can, minimize those that we can't avoid, and in the event that we had a certain level of impact, then consider mitigation options, which we don't come close to here, fortunately. We're looking at a total wetland impact along the driveway of some, is it 2,900 square feet or? And work within the buffer of some 11,900 square feet, give or take.
You mentioned beaver influence. At the end of the last application, your applicant said he was gonna remove the beaver dam. What impact does that have on what you're presenting here?
I don't recall that there was a beaver dam on this parcel, or if it were
It's
off
by
parcel.
the point
Yeah, it's right about here.
where that point goes to
Oh.
the west.
On the very, the westernmost corner of
Right.
that triangle.
Right.
Does that feed into, I'm trying to sort of visualize.
It goes right to left drainage-wise, down gradient from the north to the south, out of Graylor Farm Pond, which is to the right
Yes, it
or the
goes
north,
into this area.
and into that
Beaver
wetland.
Dam is slowing water from coming into here, or it's backing water up into it?
No, well, first of all, the beaver dam really backs up the water behind it.
Okay, on that side, okay.
Up gradient, that's where Graylor Farm Pond is.
Okay.
So if he was to remove it, it would flood this parcel more.
No, so the topography where the driveway comes through and where the triangle goes up to that point, you kind of go up and over a hill and down to where the beaver dam is. So that, where the beaver dam is like separated by, there's a hill in between it. So the water
Around the
comes
hill.
through the pond and goes basically across the point and around the bottom side to get to South Bell Road.
Yeah, the biggest problem has been the beaver wood getting
Yeah,
in that lower culvert.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
Beaver Dam is right here, kind of at the
Yep.
end of
Yes.
Graylor.
yeah, and then you see the blue thread, it follows down
Down
along
this
the
way.
adjacent property.
And it comes back to that marshy
Yeah,
area.
in that low marshy area is where, that's where it would be affected, like the driveway and everything we're doing, is either uphill or separated by like a mound over the top. Like none of the drainage from that pond and the beaver dam are connected at all with what we're doing.
But is the beaver dam itself located on this parcel?
I have no idea if it's right on the
It
tip of the
looks like it
parcel
may
or
be
not.
partially.
Yeah.
I've been told by an abutter that the property pin is in the Beaver Dam. I don't know, that's just,
Right.
that's, you know,
That's right.
neighborhood.
It's
Yeah.
it's
think
probably right at the juncture of three of the parcels.
Right, right.
What's that? Yeah, I don't know.
Do you understand why the planning board is asking these questions? And the history of beaver dam removals in this town and the issues that have
Oh,
occurred previously?
Yeah, I
Okay.
see.
No.
I think that's why you're getting
I
these
don't.
questions.
Yep.
If somebody removed a beaver dam and it drained a very valuable area.
That other people that went on other people's property and they
Oh,
had
wow.
waterfront and waterfront, pond front, whatever, but, yeah, also actually, beaver ponds are valuable areas for Blanding's turtle, which is found in this area, so, kind of maintaining the dam, and I believe that, there may have been some work to try and keep the water level even in the area, because the beavers had backed it up onto other property.
Yes, I don't recall that the applicant had volunteered to remove the dam.
No, it wasn't a volunteer.
It was
It was a threat.
I think
Oh.
it's,
It was,
That was the part I missed.
Yes.
I was saying, what was the hubbub about right there?
Yeah, that was.
Yep.
well, I don't think he would do anything that would cause damage to somebody else's property. Let's just say that.
And I would advise against manipulating hydrology in that area. I don't know how much the water level in Greylor Farm Pond is supported by that dam, but you could end up with a nuisance odor when you exposed mud flats and such, which we don't.
The other people in town.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
That was also part of the, other issue.
So that gives kind of an overview of like what the wetlands are and the buffers and things like that. So if we go to the next page, I think we get into the grading. One more up here. Where's the,
This one?
oh, there's actually,
That's,
oh, okay, yeah, go back.
Go back
So
one more.
the gradient is just light on this version, so. So basically.
It's hard to see with the cross hatching.
Yeah, so essentially what we did is we came in off of South Bow Road and followed across the first larger wetland crossing and the second one. And those locations, like I did have the original Peter Shower plan. And I changed them a little bit, and the wetland delineation was a little bit different, and when we were working with the state of New Hampshire, we actually changed out the pipes to a much more critter-friendly crossing. We have, in the larger of the crossings, we have a pretty large arch pipe with stream bed material going through it to allow for Blanding's turtle passage or whatever passage would go through it. And that was something that was very specific when we were working with the state of New Hampshire on the permit, that came up several times.
So that's the crossing one?
Yep, and I believe from what I remember, we actually oversized the second one to just match the first one. Like hydrology, we didn't need it at all. I think we could have got by with like an 18-inch culvert. But because of the issues with habitat crossing, we just put both of those in as the large arch pipe. So those two crossings are very similar to what the original shower plan was in the permit. And his plan actually went up and stopped in the triangle, like they were gonna put a house right up in the top of that triangle. But that was what caused a lot of the issues and that were discussed at the last meeting. So to try to avoid any more wetland impact on our original plan, we had gone out and around the third crossing and kind of squeezed it in between the property line and the wetland, and we didn't have any wetland impact at all. We just had a buffer impact. But we applied to the ZBA for it was a special exception, I believe. Variance, it was a variance to allow us to avoid the wetland, and that was denied. So we actually had to go back and revise the plan and actually impact the wetland. So we had our buffer impacts and we had our wetland impact, but that wetland it basically goes up and it stops. It doesn't connect through to anything else, so there's no water like flowing down through that. I think that one's just like an 18-inch culvert.
Well, this actually says 24 by 35.
Oh, 24?
So
Okay.
I think they're all
I think that's because,
They're all made the
I think that's
same
because we
size.
upsized that one as well. Like, we basically oversized everything on this. Like, if you look at the drainage calculations, water's just like basically flowing through what we have proposed. Mostly for the critter passage on everything. So once you get past that and we just come up onto the hill and everything, the house and the septic, Belanger has gone through and designed a septic. The house fits well, the house is designed to fit well into that slope. And that gives access up to the basically the main usable part of this entire lot. But we tried to use, some tight slopes on both sides. We have, our silt fence all in place, put in place to prevent erosion during construction. We have oversized pipes because of the habitat that's out there. Everything is designed pretty well with the state of New Hampshire and any local regulations. It doesn't rise to the level of any sort of alteration of terrain or anything like that. It's essentially just the single-family driveway that with a relatively small amount of wetland impact in the whole scheme of things.
And it's a gravel driveway?
Yes, it's set up that it could be paved. I have the base. The base driveway is basically to gravel to be ready to pave right over the top of it. But I believe it's just gonna be gravel to start with at least. Whenever I do a gravel driveway or a gravel road or anything, I always do it to whatever the standard is to be able to pave it right afterwards, so.
So the drainage would work?
Yeah, everything works the same.
If it,
Yeah, if it got paved, everything is accounted for. Yeah. Actually, it's more than accounted for because we just oversized everything kind of dramatically in a lot of places.
So this is a new application you go through.
Yes.
Is there any questions on the plan? Can I ask one question?
The new flood maps were recently adopted. And I noticed that there were it looked like there was some new floodplain area, in this area, maybe on this lot. I don't know if that was something you guys had looked at or.
When was it, so the permit was issued in 2000.
It was a month ago,
Yeah.
it was less than a month ago, January 23rd.
What you're talking about, I haven't looked at that.
Yeah, I
from
was
a
just
month ago,
curious,
no.
cause I looked at it, but on the flood map review where I was looking at, I couldn't see the lot lines, so I couldn't tell
Yep.
exactly where it was, but I could see that there was new flood zone in the area, so I was just curious if.
Just,
That's good to know.
my thought is if there's flood zone in this area, it's gonna be down underneath what we're doing and not necessarily in the upland area, or the upland wetland in the middle.
Yeah,
It would probably be right where it
might
comes
have
across the road or
been more
something like that.
here, it was hard, like I said, without the lot lines, I couldn't really
Yeah.
tell, but, it's probably good to know.
Okay,
If that could be,
good to know.
Because the wetland to the lower wetland there, we actually kind of drop down into that. So if there's floodplain, I think the low part of South Bow Road might be either equal to or a little bit lower than what our driveway is. So that would be affected before anything, before our driveway would affect anything.
how wide is the driveway?
12 feet.
12 feet.
Have you talked to the fire department? Cause I know with lengthy driveways, they like it double
Well,
the wide.
there's a note
There's a
in
comment,
there.
Just that they would need a way to be able to turn around at at the end, so that perfect.
Yep.
They can get back out. I'm sure that's helpful for other reasons too.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, no, for anybody, Amazon.
Yeah, everyone needs to be able to.
Amazon is probably the most important.
Yeah. For your own vehicles even, you don't wanna
Trucks are a
back
little
out.
larger, fire trucks.
So I'll make a motion to accept application number 401-26 as complete.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I'll make a motion that has no regional impact.
Public hearing.
Oh, you can't do regional?
It's better to wait, and just maybe someone will share something that you might.
Alright, let's hear
Alright.
it.
Okay.
This is a public hearing, I'll open to the public, if anybody has any questions, concerns. Not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing.
I do want to bring your attention to a few comments that we got written in writing today. There's one from Mr. Jeffers, and then, was there the other one?
Yeah, the one from Sean Ray is in the packet.
Written comments from,
From a couple of butters we received today.
okay,
I'm not saying it's Sean Ray.
It's right behind the application.
you have copies of it? We don't have it.
Yeah, we just got them this afternoon,
I'll
just a
share
couple
with
hours ago, so.
Jess if you want.
No, oh, here it is.
Do you have yours? Does everyone have it?
It's right there, yeah. So you can all read them, if you want, I can read them aloud into the record, or I can summarize them aloud into the record.
Let's summarize them.
Yeah.
Okay. So this letter from Sean Ray is from February 19th, today. He lives at 101 Wood Hill Road. You've heard it from him at several of the previous public hearings, so. Let's see, number one, he says the history of the lot has changed multiple times. These are a lot of the same comments you've heard previously from him. He provides some of the history. He's reiterating his position that the significant size and fragility of the wetlands and extensive buffer area impacts significantly more than the subject lot, and is not a minor impact. Grayler Pond and its surrounding wetlands, it's important for drinking water. There's in turtle habitat. There's been flooding there multiple times. Wildlife and habitat in the area. And the planning board put restrictions on the lot previously. That's the overview. And then Stephen Jeffers, 103 Wood Hill Road. He does not support any reduction or violation of the wetland buffers. Grayler Pond is fed by 2 streams. The buffers are essential for preventing runoff, protecting the pond's water quality, and for wildlife. There's a beaver family there, there's other wildlife in the area, and there's been recent flooding and culvert issues.
Flooding and culvert issues, is he referring to like South Bow Road, like the culvert at
last-
South Bow Road?
Yeah, last spring, the marsh next to the site flooded twice, beaver blockage at the South Bow Road culvert.
Yeah.
And then secondly, the beaver box became lodged inside the culvert had to be replaced.
Do you have a copy of that one?
We don't have it.
Just give it.
I don't know what beaver box is there, but I think a professionally installed flow device would help things there. I don't know what is there a 12-foot right of way off Sackville Road, do you know?
Sorry, I don't know off the top of my
Okay.
head.
Alright.
And then we received the comment from the fire department that I already mentioned, and then the Conservation Commission reviewed the application at their meeting, and there's a letter from Aspen Environmental Consultants that kind of addresses each of the Conservation Commission's concerns there.
Yeah, I know, yeah, no one had showed up.
So I can go through them a little bit
Okay.
too, so, I will take responsibility for the number one because we did not notify them that it was happening, so that's not the applicant's fault.
They submitted the material and
Usually we try to specifically notify people when it's on the agenda, so, And then, do you wanna talk about what was meant by the inaccuracies?
Yeah, I think just there are some things in the narrative, that there were things that various people picked up on. Just, the term functions and values were kind of not, they were, I guess it was misstated. I think that, you know, usually when a lot of the impacts were discussed, it talked more about the wetland impacts and about the 11,000 square feet of buffer impacts. I know they had mentioned that the plan, I guess, does the plan get updated with the landowner's name?
And they've done that already, so
Okay.
the newest
that was
version we
all set.
have has been
Okay,
corrected.
yeah, we hadn't seen that.
No,
Yep.
And, yeah, we had gotten the data check review that was submitted was actually from the forestry notification and not from the,
So, right, in your.
regular application.
In your packet here, he did provide a recent one from yesterday, actually, that was, not for the timbering, for the whole application. They did an
Oh, okay,
updated one.
well, I mean, I had,
Right, I know, those are your comments were based on what was available at the mini. I shared your comments with the applicant and they were able to respond to some of those things, so.
yeah, when we did the original, wetland application, we had the current NHB at the time back then. So we did have the NHB, for what we did for the wetland permit.
right, but then what was
Yep.
submitted with the CUP was the
Yep.
SPN, which
Yep,
is not.
yep.
So there's a new one in your packet here. Says no ecological review was needed.
Well, which one says no ecological review? Cause the wetlands permit has a lot, the state wetlands permit has significant amount of detail on exactly what they need to do in terms of the Blanding's turtle.
So there's one printed here that was dated February 18th, yesterday.
What is the NHB number or whatever?
I'll just pass it over to him.
ECT, okay. Extended dredging bill, okay. Okay. Oh, well, first of all, it says no ecological review, and that's for the plant and that exemplary natural communities. The wildlife and critical habitat, they talk about conservation measures were sent under NHB 0242. So,
Those are what were in that original
and,
one.
you know, which, yeah, I mean, I did have that, it's just that I wanted to, they could have resent the old one and that would have been fine. Yeah, and the DES permit has the detailed language on, what they're supposed to do in terms of Blanding's turtles during certain times of the year and stuff like that.
There was extensive discussion on the wetland permit, so,
Sure, there's like a page worth of notes.
yeah, we took their advice and we made everything very big.
Right, right. Okay. And I think also it talks about disturbing the ground during the nesting season and having someone observe, so.
Is the habitat just in the wetland area? Or is it in the upland area where the house is gonna be built to?
They move, they can walk a mile. This is why when everybody complains about, well, oh, this was far away, it's like, yeah, because these things will migrate a mile from their winter to their summer habitat or stuff like that, so. But yes, this area has habitat. In fact, I looked at the newest wildlife action plan maps, and this wetland is the highest ranked habitat in New Hampshire. It's that hot pink. So, it wasn't before in 2020, so I don't know what their scheme had, but it is, significant value for wildlife.
And the other question from the Conservation Commission was about the current use status. The land is in current use.
What's that?
The lot is in current
It's
use.
still in current use.
We hold a public hearing?
We did.
We did? Okay. I'll make a motion, this does not have regional impact.
All those in favor?
Aye. Oh, I know, the other thing that was mentioned, the description that was provided talks about the Conservation Commission having approved the CUP, and I didn't know where that came from.
What part of the narrative was that in, do you know?
Yeah, I think it's an F. So I guess, for the record, I wanted to note that that was not correct.
So, sorry, when the Conservation Commission reviewed the DES wetland permit, did the Conservation Commission make a recommendation one way or the other on that? Or did you provide comments to DES?
We did provide comment. I don't think we recommended approval.
Do we wanna,
So, what's that? We wanna what?
do we wanna have a site walk?
I've been there a number of times, and
Some
I
members
don't
of
know
the-
how much you can see.
Well, I was gonna suggest we do one when the snow's melted, because then we'd be able to see more of the wetlands and how
So-
things are.
I guess here's my question with that though, with this.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a better way to get to this back upland?
I don't know.
Is there, is there, I mean, looking for what I see, I mean, do you see any better way to get through here? I mean, it would have been kind of nice if they could have kept the driveway past one of them, but
Yeah.
our zoning denied that, so we have a
Can they
little
go
bit
back to
more.
zoning
Well,
board?
that's-
Now this is
No.
a new
No,
application.
the thing is that they were up against the property line,
Yes,
essentially.
because they were.
We were
And I-
asking for a variance
and I
to be
understand
closer
that.
to the property
Right,
line, and
right.
we were denied.
And they were denied, so,
You can apply
Their
again.
crossings
this, I
are
mean-
located at the narrowest wetland locations
unless,
that you
and
could
even
potentially
in one of the
cross.
comments as they got reviewed was, a better way to get here, and I mean, that is the question, and I mean, unless another property owner wants to, somewhere's over here wants to give them some access to get to it,
Yeah.
what's the better way to get to the lot?
I think there's a comment from Aaron in here saying he doesn't believe there is a better way.
Oh,
I
right,
believe that,
yes, yeah. Well, I mean, and some of that resides in some of the subdivision requirements that we need to review, just for future.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I just,
We did it last year, so we did a site walk for them, so I thought we have new members on the board, I don't know if it would be appropriate to do another one. And we do have until May 1st to do a site walk based on our ordinances.
Is it worth seeing
Well, that's what I mean.
in the spring?
That's what I'm saying, cause last year we saw it in a foot of snow as well, we didn't see it in the spring, so I don't know, just throwing it out there for the board.
I know prior comments have been saying that the area floods pretty significantly at times, but we've never seen it, we've been in the
Right.
wintertime, it's not gonna be wet.
What would a site, I'm just curious, yes, we can do a site walk, but what are we hoping to gain from the site walk, I guess? It's not gonna change the wetland impacts or the buffer impacts in the plan that's presented to us in the manner that's presented, and I don't think we're gonna go out there and be like, oh, they should go this direction instead, I wanna make sure that if we're doing something, that there's value added, and
I agree.
Yeah.
so. Especially since the site walk was already conducted, so,
In the snow.
okay.
Some of
treacherous.
us have been out there.
Although I'd
I
like to
guess
see
for
property,
the
so.
state wetlands permit, we were
Oh,
out
okay.
there.
I mean, a lot of people in the neighborhood's been out there, 'cause there's a trail that goes through here,
There
right?
is a trail through there.
Yeah.
Well,
They all
it's
say
in
it
current
floods,
use,
so
so.
that's why I'm just
Yeah,
throwing it out
and it
there.
was, get used by a lot of townspeople and. But I mean, I don't know what we would see that would say you can't get here or a better way to get there.
I don't know how you see it really, so I don't know, just throwing it out there for everyone, you know. Part of our process to do site walks, so.
Yep.
Well, that's why the 2006 plan followed this route. It's why basically the state approved it, because they are required to show that we cannot further minimize impacts. It's the least impacting access. And basically, we hit every wetland at its narrowest point possible along the way. Every other possible path is going through the heart of larger wetlands.
Well, and the biggest issue is for us that there's also a significant buffer impact.
Yep.
I mean, so the state looks at it one certain resource, we look at more than that.
Yeah.
But even if you look at it in terms of the path we have taken through there to just hit the wetlands in the right place at the minimum spot automatically gets us to the minimum wetland buffer impact. If we change this at all, it would not only increase the wetland impact, it would increase the wetland buffer impact even more as well.
Can I ask if, sometimes when we get to a point where there's, you know, significant impacts to buffers that are potentially unavoidable, they've minimized, but there's still impacts. Is there anything like buffer plantings that could help mitigate some of those buffer impacts? Like plant some native plantings along the edges of the driveway? Is there anything like that that would help kind of make up for some of the impacts?
So we've narrowed it down so much that the edge of our impact is basically the edge of the ditch that's running along the edge of the road.
Okay,
So
it'd be
anything running off, it runs off the road and hits a ditch, and by the time we tie the ditch in to natural grade almost right away.
So it'd be
So
native
it
vegetation
would be,
right
it
to
would
the
be the
edge.
downslope of the ditch, and the B of the ditch would be the only place to try to plant anything.
And another factor is we're going through a forest with a driveway that's 12 feet wide. There's not gonna be a lot of sun reaching the ground to grow a lot of vegetation there.
Does that continue to be true? I know there's some logging happening. Does that continue to be true after the logging plan is complete?
Yes, we're not, expanding the driveway corridor in great dimensions because there's wetlands not too far beyond them. So we're skinnied up quite tightly around the edge of the driveway.
Where's the logging?
Okay.
We don't actually get a plan of
Oh,
like where the trees are gonna be cut, so
Gotcha.
I don't actually know what the plan is there.
Along the driveway, I would assume into the building envelope.
Yeah, those out past all three crossings, like there's basically one area on the lot that is open area, and I think the logging is centered on that, so. The logging gets out to that building site and past it already.
So what are the slopes treated with? You have 2-to-1 slopes for the sides of the driveway, which are fairly steep. How do
Yes.
you preventing erosion? Are they grassed? Are they
Yeah, it's loamed and seeded.
loam and seed?
Yep. Yeah,
So
so
the concern is fertilizer, obviously with wetlands, so are those slopes fertilized?
No, as long as we get, I mean, it says 2-to-1, but the slope is like from here to the chalkboard, it's not,
Yeah,
it's
like
not
a
an
6-foot
extended
drop or
slope,
something,
so.
yeah, nothing more than 6 feet, okay, yeah.
Are you just gonna seed it so to get vegetation established, or is that something that would be maintained as like lawn?
It's mostly erosion control.
Is it just
to get
establish roots and
You
then let
wouldn't wanna
it
be,
lower?
you'd be out there with a weed whacker essentially,
what I'm
because you can't mow it in.
With a 2-to-1, yeah.
With 2-to-1, because first you have to go down through the ditch to get to it first, and then onto the slope, so.
And without maintaining the lawn, what you'll find is it'll probably be a very quick natural recolonization to native vegetation. And obviously we'd need to maintain that, no large branches are extending in from trees or shrubs that grow along there to maintain a pathway over the driveway itself, so, it'd be some maintenance of the woody vegetation to make sure that it's still a passable driveway.
Can we limit can we state that fertilizer can't be used along with edges of the driveway, just as a stipulation, or no, can we not do that?
It's obviously very difficult to enforce, but you
Yes.
can make it a condition.
Can we get a condition, like, I mean, that seems to be a major concern when you read through
Right.
everybody's comments, so I mean, why not?
Right.
I know it sounds minor, but something.
I don't know how you would police it, but
Same
Put it
way
in there.
you police, never mind, we won't go with that. Yeah. Anything
You
else that
won't
we
enforce
say,
that.
we do, honestly.
Any other conditions that people would want?
Do we want anything about the beaver dam? I don't know if that
Not
can even
sure
be
if
a
we have the
condition.
ability.
Yeah, it's outside of the,
The
the
jurisdiction.
jurisdiction, well, it's outside the limits of impact, you know,
Yeah.
like control of the property more.
So when you are making a decision on a conditional use permit, I always like to remind you that it's based on the conditional use permit criteria. And so, Jerry, you can decide if you want them, we have their narrative here in front of you, if you want them to review how they meet each of the criteria, if you wanna read it, however you wanna handle that, but just make sure that whatever decision is made is based on do they or do they not meet those criteria.
And you could paraphrase it too.
yeah, let's
Mr. Chair.
paraphrase and run through it.
I-
I think would be great.
Okay, so why don't I start with 1205 first, because those were sort of the first step, I believe, and then we get into the wetland pieces, and Tom is going to take the reins there. So, on 12.05A, the use is specifically authorized by Article 5, Section 5.11. A single-family home is permitted in the rural district, and you need access to get in there. Under the Wetland Conservation District, you have conservation, a construction of streets, roads, and access ways, conditional use permit. So the driveway could be constructed, and it is permitted, provided we satisfy the conditions. And like Carrie said, conditional use permit is very similar to a special exception. If we meet the criteria, it's a permitted use, provided we hit all those items. So, 12.05B, it says, if completed as proposed, and you've seen what's proposed on the plan, the development in its proposed location will comply with all requirements of this article and the specific conditions or standards of the ordinance for the particular use. The hope is to build a single-family home with a residential driveway. It will require a building permit, and the home would be built to code. There'll be, I'm sure, a survey to confirm all the setbacks are met, and a state-approved septic system. So I do think we would comply with the ordinance. The use will not materially endanger the public health or safety. A single-family home, and even with an ADU, it is permitted, and if it's permitted, it's certainly not going to endanger the public health, safety, and welfare. The use will be compatible with the neighborhood and with adjoining or abutting uses in the area in which it is to be located. The property is located in a residential area. It is zoned rural. The houses are pretty spread out there, and the proposal is for a single-family home accessed by a driveway. So I do think we would comply with that one. D is the use would be, was that D? I think I did D, right? Okay, I'm on to E. E, the use will not have substantial adverse impact on the highway or pedestrian safety. The driveway will come out and intersect with South Bow Road, and it will meet all the requirements for driveways in the town of Bow, and I'm sure a driveway permit and an inspection will be required, so I think we've got that covered. The use will not have a substantial adverse impact on the natural resources of the town. All efforts have been made to build this driveway with as limited impact as possible. We even, as we've talked about, tried to get a variance to avoid one of the wetland impacts. We've done everything we can to make sure the critters can go back and forth and the water flows freely as it is now, not looking to direct any water towards anyone else's property. So I don't think we'll have any adverse impact based upon what's shown on the plan. The use will be adequately serviced by necessary public utilities and community facilities and services of a sufficient capacity to ensure the proper operation of the proposed use and will not necessitate excessive public expenditures to provide sufficient additional capacity and services. This is a single-family home. We don't see any substantial demand on the town for services. All public utilities that, such as electricity anyway, are available, and it will have septic and a well. So there should be no additional demands put on the town, and as I understand it, the children have grown, so that's a bonus. So, moving on to 10.1. Now I'm starting to get out of my league here. The proposed activity or use is consistent with the purposes of the Wetland Conservation District, which is to, obviously, to protect wetlands and their buffers. And every effort has been made, as we've explained, to minimize the impacts of the driveway being the primary impact, as well as minimize the impacts to the buffers. It is a single-family home. It'll all be located in the wetland, and it will all have proper permits.
Not in the wetland.
Sorry, my mistake.
Oh, that's changed.
Yeah,
Floating house.
right, I'm sorry, in the upland. And all the disturbed areas will be restabilized. You have anything else to add to that? This is your world.
It's basically every effort made to avoid where possible, where not avoided, to minimize. And we've gotten to the point where we can count on some things that we've accomplished here to actually form some mitigation in terms of the larger culvert sizes to allow storm flows through, as well as to provide some passage for various wildlife, specifically any of the reptiles, turtles that the Fish and Game Department has a specific interest in this area.
Okay, you're on. D.
Okay. The
Over my
proposed-
head.
The proposed activity minimizes the degradation to or the loss of wetlands and wetland buffers, and minimizes any adverse impact to the functions and values of wetlands and wetland buffers as determined by a wetland evaluation in accordance with the established methodologies such as the Highway Methodology Workbook Supplement from 1999 and the Army Corps of Engineers. We have provided a functions and values analysis with the wetland permit application, and that has been provided to the planning board for review and commentary, and we've received some comments on that. And basically, we have found that we are making a best effort to avoid the impacts in critical areas on the site. And we, as mentioned before, noted the most valuable wetland in the vicinity is that little pond marsh complex down at the corner of South Bow and Wood Hill Road. And we are up gradient from that. We are providing no interruption of flow of hydrology to that wetland resource. We're not impacting the habitat value of that resource. And we're also avoiding impacts to the core of the larger wetlands on the site. We have basically designed the project to avoid not only the direct alteration of wetlands, but to minimize the impacts to the buffers, and also to provide a, where was it going with that? Sometimes my mouth gets ahead of my mind. Where we are minimizing the impacts to the functions and values of the resources throughout the corridor there along the driveway. Okay, basically, we have found many functions and values that were present in that larger pond marsh area. Fewer in the areas of narrow spots along the wetlands where the wetlands tend to become less wet and have put the impacts in those narrow areas where basically the impacts to groundwater recharge and discharge, wildlife habitat, and endangered species habitat, et cetera, are lower.
Do we have any other conditions that we want to place on this beyond no fertilizing in the erosion control zone?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve application 401-26 CS3 AK Trust Wetland Protection Conditional Use Permit with approximately 2,800 square feet of wetland impact and 1,200 square feet of wetland buffer impact, with the condition that no fertilizer is used in the erosion control zone.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion for the findings of fact that a single-family home is obviously permitted in the rural district. State permits have been received and efforts have been made to mitigate the wetland and buffer impact to the greatest degree possible, as well as provide movement for wildlife in the area with the
Larger culverts.
larger culverts.
Natural bond. And they meet all
And they meet all of
the criteria in 10.01 and 12.05.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your patience. I know this was a tough one,
Yes.
but we got there.
Good luck with the project.
I appreciate it.
You just open the cases quickly if you want to. Because they use the word.
All right. Okay, so we got the proposed amendments to section
Just about to start.
8.02B of the site plan review regulations related to requirements for site plans that involve land designated as special flood hazard areas. SFHA by the National Flood Insurance Program.
So these are requirements from FEMA that we need to update the language. It was very specific. Not really any room for discussion here that we have to make these changes or we will be kicked out of the NFIP, which is bad news. So I highly recommend you hold a public hearing, listen to the comments, and then adopt these.
So that 50 lots is something that's in FEMA, or is that really? 50 lots or 5 acres.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Okay, well, I'll open this to the public. Anybody have any comments or questions? Not seeing, I'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to amend section 802B as specified.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
And the next one's the same, we just have to do it again.
okay.
Subdivision regs.
Proposed amendments to section 6.03D of the subdivision regulations relating to the requirements for subdivisions that involve land designated as special flood hazard by the National Flood Insurance Program. Same thing, we'll open it to the public. If anybody's got any questions or comments? Not seeing, I'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to adopt amendments to section 603D as outlined.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks, guys. We were under the wire to get those in, so that's resolved.
All right. Any new business?
Meetings.
Any old business?
There's only one thing, I'm fine saying this on camera too. After the last meeting and the article that came out, both pioneers reached out to me and wanted to express to the board, and that I explained to you, that they had nothing They had no opinion on any of this. There was, without saying too much, someone responded from a Bow Pioneers email address that wasn't supposed to.
Oh,
And thus, some people may have felt that the Pioneers were supporting them, but the Pioneers' new leadership, who's trying to have a very good relationship with the town following Beaver Gate #1. They're trying very hard, and I told them, like, I think we're all very respectful of that they just wanted this board to know that they were not involved in this as an organization. So, I just wanted to get that on the record.
Did somebody respond to something?
Someone emailed them, and the Pioneers had multiple people having access to the email account.
Including
And
members who are no longer current
Members who are not in the leadership, and that person took upon themselves to respond and start engaging on this topic.
Oh, I understand.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know.
Okay, so just so everyone knows, the Pioneers are great. I actually rode the trails for the first time for this past weekend, they're phenomenal. I ran into them grooming it, they're such good,
It's the first time
good
we've
trails.
had good snow in a while.
I know.
yeah, this year.
And the Bow Pioneers have always, I mean, that's why we have such great trail systems
It's
in this
phenomenal,
town.
it's phenomenal.
It's the Bow Pioneers.
Yeah,
Well, they do the winter, a lot of the winter stuff.
Yeah.
One more quick thing, the master plan committee has scheduled a community visioning session on March 25th at 6:30 PM at the high school auditorium. I'll send out information to everyone, but if you can all make it, it'd really be great to have a lot of representation from the planning board.
I can go.
And there'll be breakout groups into 5 topic areas, and we've kind of assigned master plan committee members to each of the topic areas, but getting a couple planning board members in there to help guide those discussions and I think would be really helpful too, so.
And they're planning on having
6:30 PM.
students provide some child care type of stuff there?
And there's pizza,
And pizza, that's right.
March 25th at
Wow.
6:30 PM.
Childcare and pizza?
Child and pizza.
there.
Can't beat it.
Sorry, Mike, I keep.
Can't do the Tuesday
Afraid
meeting.
my bad
I'll send
face.
out more formal invitations, but I wanted to let you all know.
Who's gonna sign up?
I assigned you to transportation.
Oh, cool. I feel like I've been assigned to something I don't know about yet. This is
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Or maybe I was in my email.
No, it wasn't, but I
Okay, cool.
actually assigned you.
Not yet.
All right, minutes?
Sandy, any changes?
Yeah, I guess I wanted to, let's see, line 53. And unfortunately, I don't know whether this was something that was said but wasn't really accurate, but anyway. Just, with Pat Panchiaco, clarified the hearing was not related to wetland ponds or the previous issued CUP. So I don't know what CUP was.
Yeah, cause in 2005, there wasn't a CUP then, right?
No, because I think it was just the subdivision that was approved.
Yeah, we can go back and look at that.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing
Maybe
is
just say
it's,
or the CUP and take out previously issued.
right, I was thinking previously requested,
Yeah,
you know,
or just
Or the
call it
CUP.
CUP, yeah. I think,
Right,
and then it could
right,
be.
okay.
So
right.
just if we just take out previously issued, I think that works.
Yep, thank you. And then, okay, yeah, that was the only thing.
I will say that it was a tricky set of minutes, and at the end part, we struggled with how to reflect what happened, and we tried to thread the needle and.
That's fine. I'll make a
It looks
motion,
good.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 22nd.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good stuff.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?